Nothing wraps up a great holiday feast than a warm, satisfying dessert. And up next, I'll show you how to make the ultimate deep dish apple pie that will wow your guests. So, as not to miss it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and see how we make it. Okay, friends, we are going to start with the pie crust. So you're going to need 2 discs. And truth be told, I have avoided making pie crust like the plague because years ago I would try it and usually fail, either be too tough, too wet. And then I give up on it. And then every once in a while I go back to it. So it's been a while. I think I did make a couple in the last 2 years. I have been making more. So I thought for Thanksgiving, let's do a homemade pie crust. And another thing I will fess up is I use, for the holidays, a lot of times I buy those pre-made crust, doctor them up a little bit with some vanilla, butter, and sugar, kind of coat the top, because really we're also busy at the holidays and we need a little extra help. But today is also my birthday, so I wanted to make a totally from scratch pie, and today's the day. So let's go ahead. So I've done a lot of research to try to make this the best. Now, everything that you're going to use, it really should be cold, cold, cold. I've heard some people actually put their bowl, their mixing bowl from their food processor in the fridge to get that cold. I haven't done that. So we're going to go ahead and get the flour out. I have had the flour in the fridge to keep it cold. And also another tip I've heard from longtime bakers is it's best to have the freshest of flour. So if your flour has been sitting in your pantry for a year or two, which hopefully it's not been 2 years, but if you have it in there for 2 years, you need to buy a smaller bag. But even I've heard, one of my friends, she's a baker, and she said she uses, she doesn't even use it past 2 months for pie crust and certain baking. So we've got cold flour, and we're going to need 2 cups of that. So let's get started on that. Also, I'll make a little mention is I'm going to measure over this bowl. It's best to spoon your flour in and then measure it off. This is a 1 cup measuring 1 cup measurement. And you don't have to sift your flour because a lot of these processed flours are pretty, and I'm using just white all-purpose. Not doing gluten-free this time. I have made a few gluten-free pie crusts. I think it was like last year, I came across a really nice gluten-free pie crust, and I forgot to write it down, and I can't remember where I got it. So I tried searching high and low for it, but there's so many recipes out there. I was like, which one was it? So we'll knock that out of the park some other day. So we got 1. We need about 2.5. Did I say 2? We need 2.5. I fibbed. Now let me tell you, I got this food processor out, and I only bring it out for special occasions because I don't have that much space on my counter. If you have a small kitchen, you can feel my pain, right? And so I don't like to clean it. And I don't like the space it takes up. So it only comes out once in a while. My dream kitchen will have ready accessible storage. All right, is this 1/3? Yeah, we need 1/2. No, Yep, there's 1/2. And this is cold. And in my freezer right now, I have some water. So that's going to be ice cold. My butter is cold. So there's the 2.5 cup. We'll save that flour because we're going to dust our little silicone mat here. And I'm going to put this right back in the fridge. All right, so we know we have 2.5 cups. So let's just go ahead and put that in our food processor. Set that bowl aside. Spill just a little bit. And we have 1 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. Let's put that in there. And we're going to give this a little pulse. Let's get the lid. That would help. You know what would help? Oh, I already did put the blade. I thought I didn't put the blade in. I'm like, that would help. But I did. I'm not that absent-minded. All right, so we're just going to give this a quick couple little pulses to mix that through. Well, do I have my... I must not have this lined up. This has to be all in alignment perfectly. There, I got it. So I just gave it 8, 9, 10 little pulses just to get everything incorporated. So we're gonna use about a quarter to 1/2 cup of ice cold water. So I have, you know what, let's go ahead and get the butter first. You're gonna need 2 sticks of unsalted butter. Got 1 stick cubed up, and I thought I would cut the other one. All right. You just need a sharp knife, and we're going to cut this in half, and then cut it in half again, and cut it into cubes. And the key to having a flaky crust is the cold ingredients, the cold butter. Some people use shortening, and I've done that for years. Well, I attempted to do that. And some people swear by lard is the best. I think I did make a couple with lard before, and I thought they did turn out pretty good. So just, you see, I'm just cutting them. I cut the butter in half, and then half again. And we're going to do all right, so we're going to get our cold water, and I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla. And whatever your cold water or your liquid amount is, you just want to decrease how much extra fluid you're going to put in there. So we'll probably just do a teaspoon of vanilla to it. And I've got a vanilla extract or pure vanilla bean paste. So let me get my little spatula here. Because vanilla is expensive, right? I want to get every bit of that goodness. And I'll probably use that spoon to stir. So we've got the water in the freezer. And we've got about 3/4 a cup, so I'm going to take a little out. Now I'm going to test this to see if I need to put a little ice in there. Then we can remove the ice and some of the liquid. I mean, I want this good and cold. Can't say that my water's not cold. All right. So let's go ahead and put our butter in here. And we're really almost done with it. Let me just make sure I've got all my, yeah, we're going to put the butter in and then we'll put the water in. I might pulse this a little bit more. I don't think it'll hurt it. And I might take a little close up just for you to see what this looks like. And so there's a little close up of how that looks. This pre-butter. Let's put our butter in there. And there, we're going to pulse this up. It's going to look a little sandy. And, all right. You know what? I'm going to pour this out. Just take the ice cubes out. Put them in the sink. We just want to make sure we just need a little bit under half a cup because we had the 1 teaspoon of, and we might not use this all. Remember, we could use 1/4, but I'm going to go ahead and put that water in my vanilla. So that's kind of fused, and then we'll put it in there that way. All right. We're going to go ahead and pulse this a little bit. All right, now we can add our water, and I'm going to put it through the little pour spout. Let's put it back in here because it's easier to pour out of the measuring cup. All right, so I did about a full 1/4 cup. Let's take a look at this and see if it's... And it's almost there. It's kind of crumbly. It might be actually where we need it. I might just put a tad more cold water. And please don't put your hand in there. I learned the hard way. Those knives are sharp. Some people put their hand to test it. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, see, that's how it looks right now. What I'm going to do is take my little trusty spoon. Oh, it's lumping pretty good together, see? Can I leave well enough alone? I just feel like it needs a splash more. Let's see. Okay, so this is good. You don't want to overplay with it. So let me back this up. I'll get a little bit of flour on our silicone mat. Now, I do not have my oven on. I don't have it preheated because this dough has to chill for an hour. We're going to put it into discs, 2 discs. Let's get that little tricky blade in there. And if you're not too familiar with food processors. This is called the S blade. This is like a kind of multi-purpose, but they recommend that for dough. So let's go ahead and get that put on our mat. I don't know if I should have done this all at once or done a little bit at a time. But I'm committed now. Oh yeah, that's kind of coming together nice. And I think the trick of it is, and I might have over blended it, to have some of that butter kind of intact, and I kind of probably over blended, but you don't want to play with this much. We're just kind of pressing it together. And we'll see if this is tough or not. Happy birthday to me with a tough pie crust. I hope not. All right. I'm going to just make that into a little disc. And we'll wrap them up in some plastic wrap. We'll chill this for an hour. And while we're doing that, we can go ahead and get all our apples prepped, because that's going to take us a while. Yes, pie, if you make homemade pie from scratch, it does take you a little bit. So keep that in mind. Give yourself a day, and you can make your pies the day before. So, and your pie crust, you can make up to 3 days ahead. And you can actually make your pie crust earlier and then put it in the freezer, and then when you're ready. So you got choices. All right, so let's get this in the fridge chilled. Let's cross our fingers that this is going to be. I think I want to just squish them down a little bit so that chill a little faster, maybe evenly. All right, there we go. While we've got the dough chilling, let's get these apples prepped. So what I'm using is, I'm going to start out with 8 apples. You can, I'm going to use 3 McIntosh, 3 Granny Smith, and 2 Cosmic Crisp. You're going to pick the apples that are what you've gotten season over where you're at. And then this is the fall, so this is a time where things really are in season. So these are just my favorites. I'm going to just use this apple core. I absolutely love this. I got this from Pampered Chef, and I love it. Well, here I tell you how much I love it, and then that one didn't come out. There, I guess I got to press all the way through. But yeah, it just takes that whole core in there. We get a little closer, actually. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and I've washed these. I've soaked them in a cold water bath with vinegar. And this is that Cosmic Crisp. So that's a denser apple. Gotta use a little elbow grease on that one. So I usually use my core when I am doing something like applesauce or apple butter, apple crisp, and apple pie, of course. And it just makes the process quicker. And of course, we've got to peel these. Yeah, these McIntoshes. I love McIntosh. They're a really soft, tart apple. Soft, tart, and sweet. I call them a great eating apple. And I live in Washington State, which we're known for apples. But they don't have the McIntosh available all year, just around this time of year. And only certain stores carry them. So when they come in, I get a bunch of them because I like to get in touch with my inner New England girl, because I was born and raised in Connecticut, lived in upstate New York, which is the Big Apple state, and they are known for their apples, and they have so many varieties. It's crazy. few years back. I'm trying to think now how long it's maybe been. I don't know, 7 years. One of our trips out to New York, upstate New York, we went to an apple orchard, and my husband and I picked apples, and I was able to get some of my favorites. I love Empire apple. I love I think it's called McCoon or McCann. I think it's McCoon. That's like one of my favorite apples, and you can't find it out west here. So, I Spy. Is it I Spy or Spy? Wow, this Granny Smith is like, can I get my core off? Technical difficulties. Well, this is something. I don't want to cut myself because that core, the end of the core thing is pretty sharp. Well, we're in a predicament. Well, let me tell you, we're going to go on to I'm going to get another one off the tray and fuss with that later because I don't want to cut myself on camera. So let's get another one off out of the bowl. Thankfully, I have a lot of apples at this time of year. So another trick, I guess you can see another trick. Maybe you don't have an apple core. So I just cut it in half like that. I take a melon baller. Now, if you don't have a melon baller, you can use a paring knife. But I love the melon baller because it really just gets in there pretty nice. Ta-da! That was pretty quick, right? So let's go ahead and peel these. And it's much easier to, we could have peeled them first, but because my core wasn't working, my whole little plan on that one. And you can just go down. It's so simple to, I like to core them, and then I feel like it's a little easier to just peel straight down. Now to this pie, we're going to put an apple spice seasoning blend that I put together. And I'll share that link. Last fall I did a little video on some basic fall seasoning blends like pumpkin pie spice and apple pie spice. And I don't remember everything I put in. I was trying to, as I'm doing this video, I'm like, what all did I put in there? I know it was cinnamon and allspice. I can't remember if I put nutmeg, clove or ginger or anything like that. So I'll have to relook at it myself. But you know, there is a class. You can Google apple pie spice, and there's a few variations. Some of them I think take cardamom. So you can pick your favorite flavor profile. A lot of people just use cinnamon and sugar. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really up to your taste. I like a little bit of a spicier, and when I say it's not hot, just I like all the fall spices. And I guess you don't have to use them just fall, but we kind of classic call them fall, right? So let's see. I'm going to see. I didn't like that peeler too much. Yeah, this one's better. Let's go ahead and maybe you're more comfortable with a paring knife. Really doesn't matter. Just that you get them peeled. So let's do this part, and then we're going to cut them up and assemble this pie. And I still don't have my husband came to my rescue, and he got that apple off the core. I'm telling you how wonderful. I've never had that happen. So that was a dense apple that was the Granny Smith. So let's get these sliced up. So our garbage bowl, we don't need that, I think, anymore. And I wish I had a clear, I meant to get a clear big bowl, but we'll use this plastic bowl because you need a large bowl. Well, let's get them sliced up. And then we're going to put a little apple juice on there to help the brown, so that they don't get all brown. Now, let me kind of show you. You don't want these too thin, but you don't want them too thick. You want them thin enough that they're going to cook through, but you don't want it mushy, unless that's the texture you like of apple pie. But usually you want to get some nice slices. You kind of like do it that with. So, oh, let's get it in here. So, it is nice if you can do 3 different types of apples in your pie, because you're going to get different sweetness, tartness. Some will be softer. These Granny Smith are more dense, and they're kind of a classic use in apple pies. In New York, we had one called, I think, a greening or something, and those were a really big apple. I think it had a green skin, if I'm not mistaken, and those are great for apples, but we don't have them around here, so I need to do the research and see what apples are the best for apple pies here in Washington. Kind of use what I have. I thought these golden crisps will be good. They have these pink ladies that are pretty good. One for the cook. Now, apples will cook down quite a bit in your pie. That's why you need probably at least 8. And there again, there's some variations. Yeah, see how soft these McIntosh? I'm going to do those a little bit bigger because they cook down. And see how that looks? It's got a little pink tinge to it. It's a nice eating apple. Just want to make sure you get any core bits that are left over. And the ends, you want to make sure you get that in there. That won't be pleasant to bite into. There we go. There's nothing more classic though than apple pie for any time of year, really. But we especially think of Thanksgiving, right? Now these Cosmic Crisps, they're kind of they also are a denser apple. Make sure I get those a little thinner. Pretty much like the Granny Smith, because that's a denser apple. And that one broke. That's no big deal. Just put it in there. Probably prepping the apples is by the time you core them, peel them, chop them. That's probably the longest time because it didn't take us really any time to make that pie crust. Of course, we still have to roll it out. And we're going to put a little squirt of lemon juice to help from the oxidation and them getting brown. Because we still have to roll out the dough. Of course, the cinnamon is going to discolor it, but that's okay. One for the cook. I think this is going to be plenty enough. You see what I mean about needing a big bowl? All right. You don't need much lemon juice. Probably not even a half of a lemon. Probably like 1 tablespoon or so, I guess. And then just use your hands and get that coated through. All right, I'm going to wash my hands. We'll get our spices and cinnamon in there. All right. So let's go ahead and put our other ingredients into this apple mixture. We're going to start with our sugar. We've got about 3/4 a cup of granulated sugar. I have a little bit of coconut sugar and sugar in the raw. We're going to use 3 tablespoons of apple pie spice mix. And this is kind of heavily spiced. Now, I made these packets, and I've had them since last fall, and they kept well. I put them in these little Ziploc bags. I used 1 serving per baggie. This one I think is a pumpkin pie spice in here, and I put them all in this bag and stored it, and they kept really well. So, and now we're going to use 3 tablespoons of, well, let's like, do I want to stir this first? Yeah, let's stir that a little bit, and then we'll put our flour in. And you just want everything coated well. It's like I said, I tend to like my apple pies a little more spicier. So keep that in mind. If you like strong fall spice seasoning, this is the pie for you. You can tone it back. You can just use cinnamon. You can put a couple of tablespoons of cinnamon. Some people put a little bit of brown sugar in there. So let's get our flour. We need 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And this just helps your pie filling to set up and give you a nice little creamy glaze in the pie that makes it nice. You just want to make sure you get everything coated. You don't want a clump of flour in one spot. And that's really it for, oh, we could put a pinch of salt maybe. Of course, I think on my, oh, you know what? I'm not going to put the salt because I already had some salted butter. Usually you would use unsalted, but I'm not going to add any salt to this. And we'll put those little pats of butter on there. So our pie crust has been chilling for just barely over an hour. And we will go ahead and get that rolled out and put together. And I still have it preheated in my oven because I'm going to roll this out first. I don't have a lot of space here. So I'm just going to do it on here, and then I'll go ahead and put this in the fridge, and then go ahead and put the pie in the fridge, and then I'll preheat the oven. So hopefully this will be easy to work with. Now I need my rolling pin. And And I just coated my silicone mat with a little bit of all-purpose flour. Now, a lot of these silicone mats have the diameter. They'll have circles on there. And you can show you what size inch. I think it goes up to a 10-inch. I got like 7, or 8, 9 and 10. So you can kind of get a grid for how much you need to roll it out. Let's cross our fingers and hope this pie crust comes out good. If it comes out terrible, maybe you won't see this video. So if you're seeing this video, then I liked how it turned out. Or maybe I'll have to make another pie crust. But I kind of go from the middle and out. And this has definitely gone over my circle here. And I kind of just put the pie, and this is more like a deep dish pie. Just want to make sure it's even, like not thicker on one side than the other, because your pie crust won't cook evenly. I think this is a little thin or thick on some parts. Well, let's see if I can. Usually I'll roll this up when I do make it. I usually do parchment paper. I think I like that better. Then I just roll my dough. There we go. And I just have to play with it a little bit. Yeah. It needed a. This would be okay for a smaller pie, but so what I'm going to do is cut off some of this excess. And I'll put a little wet water, or wet water, yeah, water's wet, a little cold water on the pie crust to extend out so it's kind of even. You definitely have to have patience, I feel like, with doing pie crust. So if you're in a rush, don't plan on this because you need some time, and this should be enjoyable to you. I have today off, so I had the time to do this. All right, let's see, do I have any of my cold water set aside? Yes, I do. I'm just gonna put some on here. And we're gonna put a top layer of dough also. Try not to press too hard that when you go to try to take the pie out, right? It's you don't want it to stick to the and I'm definitely going to use my parchment paper for this top one. Probably should have measured, weighed this. I just thought of that right now. That's like, I'm like, how come it's not longer? I probably should have made sure they were even. Let's set that aside. You can see I moved on to the parchment. I like that better. And I put a little bit of all-purpose flour on there. And let's get to rolling this out. I put the bottom half in the fridge to keep that chilled. until we're ready to put the pie filling in there. I'm gonna move that parchment paper around. I'm gonna lift that up and flip it over. That way my crust doesn't stick to the. I think this amount of pie crust dough is better for a little bit of a smaller pie, just the average size. I think this is a little shy for my deep dish, and I should have thought of that when I picked out. And I could still go ahead and take a smaller. I could put that in a smaller pie dish. So keep that in mind. I like my bigger pie dish. It's so pretty. But definitely would weigh out your pie crust discs so that you know they're around the same size. I'm just checking to make sure it's evenly rolled out. Alright, let's roll that up. And truth be told, I think I could have rolled this out a little bit more. It's like, do I want to even play with it? Maybe I will roll it out more. I don't know. Nah, I'm just going to leave it be. All right, let's get that. This smells fabulous. It's not even baked. And I know this looks like a lot. A little bit of that flour in the bottom, so let's get that stirred. But this is going to really cook down. We probably could put one more apple in here, really. And I might do that. I'm going to use a spatula to get all that goodness out of there. Yeah, because this is going to cook down. This is a big... I'm going to put one more apple in there. I put a few more, or I put one more apple in there. So I'm just wetting this edge because this got a little dried out since being in the fridge. I'm gonna take that top crust. All right. All right, let's take a fork. Well, let's go around and take off some excess, not excess, excess. In some areas, it's less than others, so I'm going to put a little, this patch here. And I think I'm going to use a fork to crimp it down so that we know all the juices are sealed in. I'm just taking the ends of the tines. And there's different ways you can do it. Sometimes you can fold it over. I like that a lot. But because this is a deep dish pie, I don't have as much crust. So I'll try to get a close-up of this after I do this. Oh, I'm thinking that's pinching. I probably should have, yeah, let's roll it under because I don't want it to be leaking out. And then we'll just do the fork tines on there. And this is why I usually always buy the pre-made crust, because it's all exactly the same all the time. But the homemade is much better tasting, so. So what I'm just doing on these edges is tucking them under, just to make sure we don't have all the juices coming out, and it's sealed nice. And this end has a little less, and then a little bit of this excess pie crust, just so we have it like look more uniform. All right, that's good. Now we'll just go ahead and crimp. I guess we can call this rustic, right? All right, we're almost done. I'll get a close-up of that, and we'll put an egg wash on there so it'll be nice and shiny. So I'm just going to take one egg and a little bit of water and beat that. We don't need the ice cube anymore. Did a couple, probably need 1 to 2 tablespoons. Be good enough. Just get that a good whisk. I'll be a little foamy. If you have a little whisk, you can use that, or a fork. Oh, I'm making a mess of myself. All right, let's get our little silicone brush and let's give that a good coating. I want to make sure you cover the whole thing. And we're also going to cut a few holes in here to vent this pie. So this is happy birthday to me. But we are doing this for Thanksgiving, our classic apple pie for Thanksgiving. Now maybe you're not hosting Thanksgiving and you were asked to bring a dessert. This would be perfect. I've said you can give yourself some time. You can make your pie crust up to 3 days ahead. Have that ready, then that's a slower pace for you. Not so hectic and hurried. All right, so let's go ahead and give a good little vent in there. And I'm gonna do some little ones in different spots. And then I made some cute little leaves. I'm gonna stuck that on there. There we go. And we're gonna take a dusting of like a coarse sugar. You can use the coconut sugar or sugar in the raw. Let's use a little sugar in the raw. That's a little bit. And you could get like a dusting or a, what do they call, sanding sugar? Let's sprinkle that over. I'll try to get a close-up of this, so probably use like 2 tablespoons, maybe not even 2 tablespoons. All right, now we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven. We're going to preheat it to 400. We're going to cook it for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to lower the temperature and finish baking it. So the pie has been cooling for a couple of hours or so, and I'm ready to have a piece of pie for my birthday. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Now, some vanilla ice cream would be perfect with this, but I didn't feel like going out. So we're just going to cut a slice, and this is very juicy. And I'm supposing, oh, you know what? Feels so crispy. I'm supposing what I was going to say is those Macintosh apples will let off a lot of juice. So I feel like I need a spatula or something to get that first piece out. That's always the trickiest. So let's see if I got another spatula that will get in there pretty good. We'll use this one, hopefully. My pretty Cape Cod pie server. I started collecting that Cape Cod collection from Avon back in the 80s. Give me a thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. I've got some of the plates and stuff They're real pretty. Well, let's see if we can get that first pie out. Slice. Holy smokes. Well, some of it came out. That's all right. We'll just put it on the side. Woo! Holy smokes, that is one big pie. But it's only your birthday once a year. So let's give it a taste. I might put a little whipped cream. I've got some homemade whipped cream. I might put some on there. But let's just give it a taste test. Just plain and simple. Let me get a close up. Look at that. It's so cinnamony, and that pie crust looks pretty good. So we'll just have to give it a taste. I don't know what I want to bite into first. Let's grab a little piece of pie crust and the apple. Oh, that is so good. I love it because it's a combination of sweet and tart. Mm-mm-mm. And I want to see if I can get some of that bottom crust because I want to make sure that cooked all the way. So the bottom, I feel like it could have cooked a little bit more, definitely. So I probably could have left it in the oven another 12 minutes, 12 to 15. It's not as crispy or, well, it's soaked with a lot of the juice. So, but that top part, very crispy. So, okay, the homemade pie crust is definitely worth it. Next time, I might, because with the recipe that I used, I think I would make a smaller pie. We'll take away some of the apples because, that's good. I can't wait to sit down with my coffee. Yeah, we'll take away some of the apples because the discs were, and that was a little hard to work with. But you see now here, I had plenty of crust, so I just like to fold it over the edges. But yeah, it's a beautiful pie. It's definitely spectacular. So if you bring this to your Thanksgiving gathering, people are going to rave over it, and a little bit of vanilla ice cream will go great with it. It's a nice combination of sweet and tart. If you're going to make the deep dish, I'd cook it a little bit longer because the bottom isn't exactly where I want it. It's pretty close, but very good. So I'm going to have my cup of coffee, sit down, and relax. Happy birthday to me.